evening to everybody onto this particular call, and a very good morning to you, Andy. Andy, it is an absolute honor and a privilege to have you on this call today. And I've got to give you a little bit of an introduction because we've kept most of this back from our agents over the last couple of weeks. So let me give all of our agents a little bit of an insight to the gentleman, Andy Coleman. Now, I'm going to be reading this straight from the script. So currently, he is the number 2 agent out of 90,000 agents in eXp. So yes, you heard me correctly, the number 2 agent. If we're looking at his stats, in 2022, he completed 250 deals. Now that is absolutely phenomenal. But let me take this even further. And this is really where I want all of you to actually just sit down and just take this in. In the last 4 years, he's netted $1.6 million. Now, we take our currency exchange rate, multiply that by 20. So we're talking about 32 million Rand in the last 4 years in net commission. That takes your mind to another level. Closed 700 plus deals in the last 4 years. He is a 3 times icon agent for eXp. And this is an absolute, and it goes on. He's also a YouTube social media influencer, an Instagram social media influencer. Andy, I've just got to ask you this one question. You've obviously been in real estate for about 30 years to come up with these particular numbers. Am I right?
No, no, I have not been in real estate 30 years. I'm only 36 years old. No, I just started doing real estate it's about 3.5 years, maybe we're coming up right around 4 years, I suppose, that I was in real estate. So no, I was literally brand new career. I didn't know anything about real estate whatsoever. So hey guys, by the way, yeah, my name is Andy Coleman. Obviously I'm with eXp. He just introduced me phenomenally. So I'm not going to go through all of that because all of that is accurate and correct. But yeah, I am basically still a relatively new agent. So it's just, listen guys, it's possible to do a lot of volume and a lot of deals in a very short amount of time. You do not have to be doing this for 30 plus years to do these kind of transactions. It's funny. We just held a holiday party for South Florida. We had about 400 agents show up, which was awesome. And I actually met the number 1 agent there. He's actually in South Florida as well, which was pretty cool. And he has been doing this for almost 30 years. So for me to have risen to the top so fast, I think that's what really separates me from all the other agents that are at the top right now. I did it so incredibly quick. So I think that's what, you guys kind of want to hear today is how I did it so fast, right? Because anybody can get to the top over 30 years, but can you do it in a few years? I think that's the question.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to just reiterate that. He didn't say a lot of years, 3 to 4 years. That's what I really want you to take in. And that was one of the reasons why I reached out to Andy specifically, because I could have gone to agents that have been in the industry for 20, 30 years, and basically they would have told their story. They've got their sphere of influence. They've built their database. They've got their clientele. But here we've got Andy who's done it in 3 to 4 years. And that's really and that's the reason why I brought him on the call. So I want to take you back one step, Andy. What got you into real estate? Why? What was that method? What got you in to make this particular transition? I mean, real estate of all things.
Yeah, so I was in a completely different industry before this. Actually, I'll tell you. So when I moved to Florida, it was about 5 years ago, 2 years before I got into real estate, give or take, maybe 6 years ago at this point. Who knows? So I didn't really have a direction, right? I was hanging out, I was partying. I had made some money in a different industry. I was always an entrepreneur. So that's what real estate is, by the way, guys. It's not like a 9-to-5 job. You're an entrepreneur. You're running your own business. So a lot of agents do not treat it that way, and that's why there's a 90% failure rate. So for me personally, I was like, all right, what am I going to do now? I got a little bit of cash. I wanted to come to Florida to invest in my buddy's company. He was actually running trips to Cuba, which completely flatlined because of the pandemic. So I didn't do that. I got lucky by saying no to that. And one of my other buddies was like, all right, why don't you try getting into real estate? You're a really good talker, energetic. And I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. a couple of my buddies said, oh, no, there's 2 million realtors out there, this and that, it's flooded with realtors. You don't know anybody. You're not going to make any connections, that you don't know anybody in Florida. You have no network, no sphere of influence. How on earth are you going to make it, right now? So I was like, oh, maybe he's right. So I got my real estate license despite of that. And I was like, I'm going to prove this guy wrong. And this guy was like a veteran, 10 years, making a couple $100,000 a year. And I wanted to prove him wrong. So I ended up getting my license right around this. It was like maybe November of 2019, actually. That's when it was. So I got my license and I was like, all right, he's probably correct, because I'm looking around and I'm like, all right, it's kind of tough to get like listings right now because I've never done anything before. Kind of tough to work with buyers because I've never sold a house before. So I'm like, what am I supposed to do, right? I can go and shadow all of these big time agents, but they didn't want really anything to do with me because I'm a brand new agent and they're busy. So I was like, all right, let me try something completely different. I ended up talking to a successful agent's girlfriend, and I'll never forget this. She told me, she's like, why don't you try renters? Because I was explaining all of this to her. And I'm like, what do I do? And she's like, just try renters. She's like, work with rentals. And I'm like, rentals? I'm like, nobody's even mentioned that before. I'm like, I didn't even think that was an option, right? It was just buyers, sellers. That's it, right? No, there's a third option. There's an untapped market right now on planet Earth, everywhere. It's not just in South Florida or the United States. It's literally everywhere. No agents work with rentals because that's not even a thing that like brokers, team leaders, mentors even talk about. They talk about getting the big commissions, the 10 grands, the 15, 20 grand checks, and they don't talk about these little deals. But guess what? You can do a lot of them very quickly with not that much effort per deal, and you can make a good amount of money. So I'll even give you a little backstory on my average commission. I'm making around $2,000 per deal, me personally, right? I charge a transaction fee, which I can talk about in a little bit. It equals about $2,000 per deal. And my best month, I think it was around 30 deals or so. So you do the math on that, right? That's about $60,000 just from rentals alone. My best month in real estate so far in my past, whatever, 3.5, 4 years, I did $137,000. I did $137,000 in net commission. Okay. I'm an icon agent, obviously, with the eXp. So I get to basically keep all of that minus some like tiny little fees, which I don't even see. So basically, for the most part, you can do other things. You don't have to just work with buyers and sellers. And if you want to work with buyers and sellers, great, fantastic. It's tough really starting off that way if you don't have a network or a sphere built up. Because listen, if you have a network and sphere, it's a lot easier because then these people know you, they trust you, you know what I mean? But if you're trying to do it with strangers that never met you before, and they say, how many deals have you done? And you're like, I've done 0 deals. Like, listen, a purchase of a house is one of the most important decisions any human being is going to make. It's a big decision, right? You're buying a $500,000, whatever, wherever you are. That's the biggest purchase you're going to make. So you really have to have a lot of faith and trust in the person that's going to be selling your home or helping you buy a home. I didn't have that trust, that credibility built up. So I said, you know what? Let me try rentals. And it just worked. Like right out of the gate, I'll tell you this. All right. So my first year, I wasn't really doing too much. Like I was probably working about 5-6 hours a day, taking off the weekends, turning my phone off at 5 o'clock at night because I was treating it like a 9 to 5. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. That's what I was treating it like my very first year of real estate. I still managed to do about, 60 deals. Did about 60 deals, 5 of those being house sales, which I got from my renters because I do no marketing whatsoever for purchases. And then the other 40 or 50, 40, 60 deals, whatever it is, like 55 deals, I did rentals, right? And my average commission was a lot lower in my first year. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of creating this system from scratch because I didn't have anybody like me to teach it to me. Literally, there was nobody teaching rentals whatsoever. I would go into YouTube, go into Google, and nothing came up. There was nobody that had a course, a program, a coaching, literally nothing. So I was like, all right, shit, like I probably got to do this myself, right? So I did. I literally created it from scratch. And first year did about 80. It equated to about 80,000 in commission my first year, which is pretty decent for like, I basically was kind of working part-time, pretty decent, right? And then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of onto something here. Like this is working really freaking well. I'm like, what happens if I actually put in more effort? Well, I'll tell you what happens. Second year I did this, I basically made $250,000. That's after being in the business 1 year. Okay, that first month in January of 2020, whatever it was, or 2021, and after my first year, I think I made like 20 grand. Working with rentals. And I was like, what the hell? Like, all right, like maybe I'll put even more effort into it. And then second month, did even better. So I'm like, all right, what if I now, this is my third year coming in, right? Because I think I did 180 deals in my second year, 250K commission, third year. So after 2 years in the business, I was like, okay, now what if I start busting my ass working about 16 hours a day? What if I start working when I'm awake, I'm working, when I'm sleeping, right? What if I try that? I'll get back to all of my leads. I'm not going to stop lead gen whatsoever. And let's see what happens, right? So it worked. I literally doubled my business again, right? I think I tripled it after my first year. And then after my second year, I doubled it to $500,000. It was 510 grand exactly that I made in my third year of real estate. And that's commission collected to me, right? Because I'm an icon agent. So that's I got the tax on that, right? So that's not like, people say, oh, I made $1 million, but what was your expenses? You know what I mean? No. My expenses were so minimal in real estate, right? So yeah, the majority of that, I literally, kept all of it. Because guys, for real estate, we don't really have much overhead, especially if you're a solo agent. You don't have like a whole office or like, team built up or anything like that. Your overhead is it's basically just the gas in your car, right? You could literally work from your phone and your laptop, and you could do it out of your house. You can do it, out of your car, like literally. You don't need any kind of crazy overhead. So the profit margins are so spectacular in real estate. So I learned that, and I'm like, all right, now what am I going to do my fourth year, right? Because first 3 years went really, really well. Almost made, I think it was I almost made about $1 million in my first 3 years. Okay. And then now we're getting into this year. This is 2023. I was like, all right, I can grind again. I can bust my butt again. Because guys, I was working 16 hours a day nonstop to make $500,000 after 2 years in the business. So I'm not trying to, come on here and say this is a get rich quick scheme, because it's not. It truly is not. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of time, motivation, dedication. I loved what I was doing. I had families literally crying to me after getting them into a property because no agent would work with them. Like, I don't want to work with a rental deal. What am I going to make $2,000 commission? They're scoffing at that. And I'm like, scoffing at that? You're putting in 2 to 4 hours of work. How else are you going to make, what is that, like $500 an hour? I'm like, and if it's only taking 2 hours, that's $1,000 an hour. I'm like, how are you going to make $1,000 an hour? Show me a job where you can start for 1 or 2 years and start making $1,000 an hour. Doesn't really exist, right? That's tough. Okay. So I did it. It really worked, but I didn't want to do it again, right? I didn't want to, like, this year, after my third year, I didn't really want to put in the 16 hours a day grinding. I didn't want to try to do 350 deals, and make $1 million doing rentals. I didn't really want to do that. And I probably could have, alone. So what did I do? I got creative. Okay. And I was like, that's how I did so well. I was thinking outside the box. I was getting creative. I was solving problems. I was closing deals left and right. I was helping families out. So this year I said, you know what? I want to hire some agents, bring them in under me for eXp, and have them help me with all of my rental deals. So that's what I did in February of this year. I started training agents and brought them in under me. And now they're doing the stuff that I was doing last year, but now they're doing it for me and with me, right? So now I have different responsibilities. I'm growing like crazy right now. I just brought on another agent yesterday. I'm going to bring on another one next week. I'm going to start a team in New York. I'm expanding now. So my whole point, and first of all, too, then I started the YouTube channel. Then I started the Instagram. I've only been on YouTube and Instagram for 5-6 months now, something like that. Literally just started it this year. And my whole point about telling you guys this is, yes, you can grind for a few years and, make yourself an authority figure. Give yourself the credibility to then be able to hire or bring on agents or people under you that are going to help you with your work, or, kind of do your work, kind of for you, right? Because that's the whole goal. And everybody wins. They're making a lot of money. I think my agents right now are making, I think one of my agents is going to make $250,000 literally in their first year. They're going to make $250,000 in year one. I wish I didn't do, I didn't even do that because I had nobody to teach me. So it's literally possible to bring on people to help you out once you get that credibility, though. I think somebody's mic's on. If you could turn that, mute that mic really quick. But whoever that is, Stuart, I don't know if you can mute that person's mic. But yeah, it's the credibility, right? You gotta build that credibility first. This way, it's going to inspire the agents under you to want to work for you, right? Let's say you did, $50,000. You're making $50,000 a year, $80,000 a year, closing a couple deals here or there. How are you going to inspire agents, right? You have to show them that it's possible. You have to show them that you did the hard work too, so then you can go and teach them how to do it as well. So I think that's the whole like beauty of this, especially as real estate agents. You don't have to do this forever alone. I've met a ton of agents that have been doing this, 20 years, 30 years. And guess what? They all have teams. It took them a little bit longer to get the whole team thing built up. So I'm an anomaly, like doing it this quick. It's very, very rare, but I literally created the blueprint on exactly how to do this. So for the most part, grind for the first few years. It's like an outline or rundown of like the blueprint that I'm kind of like creating here. Is you grind really hard for the first few years, right? Get that credibility built up. And yeah, it's going to be tough and you're going to have to really sacrifice other things. But then eventually, once you've done enough, and in my mind, you got to make about, I would say at least minimum $250,000, right? In a year, $250,000 profit. Once you've done that, then you're like, all right, I could have done that after my first year. I was like, I need a little bit more experience. So I waited till my $500,000 mark. But then guess what? I literally turn down agents left and right. I have agents come up to me all the time. I want to work for you. I want to work under you. And I say, nah, I can't do it right now, right? Because my time is very precious. I can only bring on certain people because I'm working with them directly right now, So basically, you need to build up that name for yourself, that brand for yourself, which is what I'm doing on Instagram and YouTube now to attract a bigger audience, right? Not just locally, but in the meantime, locally, you got to do a lot of volume. Then you can start bringing on other agents to help you out because that's the ultimate goal. You don't want to be slaving away. Trust me, guys. You do not want to be slaving away like I was doing last year, in 2022. First of all, that was in like the peak of the pandemic right there. It was 22 when our market peaked. It was like June of 22. I'll never forget that. That's when the market peaked here in America. So like it got tough. Some of these listings were getting 50 offers. So I had to compete with that. I had to win out on like a 1 out of 50 chance to win a rental bid, if I got a lease or a sale or a list, and I had to compete with that kind of stuff, right? So I did it though, because I got creative. But you can actually do other things as well if you get good at real estate, whatever it is, right? You don't have to do rentals as your niche. You could pick, there's a lot of other things you can actually do aside from rentals. Like, let's say you don't like doing rentals. I trained an agent and, she made a bunch of money in her first month or two, but she's like, you know what, Andy, I don't really like doing rentals that much. I think I would like to do, this or that, open houses, blah, blah, blah. So then I use the same philosophies to train her on open houses. It's not the niche that you choose. Now, I will say this, rentals are by far the best niche to choose right now. If you're optimizing right now, time spent on, dollar producing activities in real estate right now, rentals are number one. Don't get me wrong. There is no second right now because nobody wants to buy, nobody wants to sell. The market's all screwed up, right? We got crazy high interest rates. Well, not yet. They're going to be higher. I can talk about that later. We got very low inventory and we got very high prices, right? So what does that mean? It means nobody wants to buy right now. Nobody wants to sell. They're only buying or selling because they need to, because they must, which is creating a very tough market for real estate agents. So that's why I know rentals are by far the best option right now in this particular market, but that can change, obviously. But here's the thing. Rentals are always going to be good no matter what. I literally just lived through. Now, like Stuart said, I don't have 30 years of experience. I haven't seen these cyclical markets. I've only seen from 2000 and end of 19, we'll say beginning of 2020. I've seen that, which we basically got smashed right into the pandemic. What, in February? I was in there for like a month or two before we just the whole country shut down. So I had to adapt. I did this literally during a global pandemic, by the way. So not only did I do this fast, I literally did it during one of the worst times in like recorded human history, right? So it just goes to show you that no matter what's happening, it doesn't matter. There's no excuses. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, there's a pandemic. I can't do this. I can't do that. No. None of that stuff, right? You got to take accountability. If things are not happening for you, it's because of you and you alone. That's it. It's not because of anybody else, not because of outside circumstances. It's because you're doing something wrong and you need to change it. You need to fix it, right? So, hey, Stuart, I went on a little bit of a tangent there. I don't know if you have questions for me. So I don't want to just talk for the next hour.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And thank you so much for actually sharing that, because this is one of the big key things that I picked out of it is you worked hard. You really, really worked hard. You put in those hours, you put it to the grindstone, 16 hours a day, ladies and gentlemen. If you start putting in 16 hours a day, just imagine how it would affect and change your particular business. But now you can't do 16 hours consistently for a long period of time. You're going to physically burn out. And that's exactly, Andy, you mentioned, starting that particular team, getting yourself in that growth. And now you're going to start seeing that exponential growth. And as a coach, that's exactly where I work with a lot of my agents, is getting through those first 3 years. And you hit the nail on the head. this is an entrepreneurial business. And if you look at any particular business, it takes you roughly 3 years to get to that particular point where you've actually got that foundation of absolute growth. So a question I want to follow on with this is, now that you've actually got into the team status, you're getting into that point where people are now starting to recognize you and saying, hey, Andy, I want to work with you. How has it changed your life? If you start comparing to what you did before real estate to what you've been doing during the pandemic, how's it changed your life now?
I like this question. I like this question a lot. So, all right, I'll tell you this, guys. So I'm going to be brutally honest, right? My first 3 years, were fun, right? It was fun. It was good. I liked making the money. The money was rolling in. I was, last year I was cashing $50,000 months. Every single month I was bringing in like 50K, basically, right? So that was fun. That was a lot of fun, and I was helping a lot of people. But I gotta say, this year, especially in the last, I would say 4 or 5 months, because I trained my agents in the beginning of the year. I started my YouTube channel. I started Instagram. I had to learn all that stuff, and I had to teach other, agents to help me out. But now that I'm in the swing of it, I've learned YouTube. Obviously, I gotta see. Here's the one thing too. I don't know it all, right? I'm always gonna be able to learn something new, which I love. That fuels me. You know what I mean? So when I say I learned something, it doesn't mean there's nothing more for me to learn. Because trust me, I learn every single solitary day. But I've learned enough to be all right, this is working. You know what I mean? My agents, working with my agents, working with YouTube, working with social media. So now I'm really enjoying it. It's become so fun. I'm so happy. I've never been happier in my life than at this point in my life right now. I've never been happier by far. I mean, I have an amazing partner right now to share this all with. I think that's very important because, at the end of the day, money comes and goes, and I'm sure you've heard this before. Money is meaningless. You know what I mean? It's not the money. It's not the end goal. It's the journey. It's the journey that kind of fuels you. And if you think that, I want to make $1 million. And then once you hit that $1 million, you're all right, now I'm going to be happy. Doesn't work that way. It's not that way whatsoever. It's the journey that takes you there. That's the fun part. You know what I mean? Then when you hit that million or whatever your goal is, you're all right, what's next? Cause you want something more. But you have to love what you're doing. And if you love what you're doing, you're never going to have work a day in your life. I'm sure you've heard that saying a million times. And I'm learning that is super true. Because like I said before, my first 3 years, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I liked it. It was fun. I had a good time. But I didn't now, today, I love creating YouTube content. I love making videos, right? I love training and teaching other agents. That's really enjoyable to me, more so than what I was doing before. So in my mind, there's levels to things. I'm a very analytical and logical person. I think in percentages and numbers, right? So if I'm at maybe real estate for the past 3 years, I was at a 90%, happiness, enjoyment level of doing it, right? Well, now I'm literally at 100% or 99%. I am so happy, and I'm so in love with what I'm doing right now. So I can wake up every single morning with a massive smile on my face. I jump right out of bed because I want to get up and get to work. And the word work, I don't even like saying work because it's just my lifestyle now. It's not even work. It's just my life. I don't treat it as work. I don't say, oh, I got to go to work today. I have a job today. It's just a word I use to say what I'm doing, but it's my life. That's what I'm living. You know what I mean? So I don't ever turn off. I don't have a time where I'm all right, it's time to stop working for today. It doesn't exist in my mind, doesn't exist in my life. It's just nonstop. It's a lifestyle that you're living. I think that's what separates the millionaires, billionaires, the really successful people. I think that's what separates them from the people who have not achieved that, is they've grasped that fact.
Yeah,
that, you know what, if you want to make it to the top, you know what I mean? You have to actually, who's that? Who is that? Turn your mic off, whoever that is. Stuart, get them, turn their mic off or something. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Something about making it to the top, right? Yeah, if you want to make it to the top, okay, you really have to change your whole mentality and mindset behind this. It's truly a different kind of way of thinking, right? You can't, first of all, you cannot let problems really get you down, right? Because listen, guys, I'm talking about all my wins and my successes right now, but do you know how many failures I've had? I've had so many failures. I can't even count them. Way more failures than successes. Because a lot of times you're going to have problems in every single thing you're going to do. Like, I don't care if you're in real estate or not. I mean, everybody's in real estate here, but whatever deals you're working on, you're going to have issues and problems. So you cannot let those discourage you. I'll tell you a story really quick. So just talking about some failures I've had, I could lose a deal. Maybe I had a purchase that was like a $10,000 commission. And then maybe a day before, I think it was a day before, I lost the commission. I lost the deal. Literally, it was just like completely got just shut down, and we had to return the earnest money escrow back to the seller. And I was like, oh my God, I just lost a $10,000 commission. I didn't really it wasn't even, I didn't need the money, but imagine if you did need the money, you know what I mean? Like that, then that's why I like rentals so much, by the way, too. A little tangent here. Rentals, you can lose a deal and it doesn't matter. But if you lose a $10,000 commission and that's you're counting on that for the month, ooh, what are you going to do then? You know what I mean? But if you lose a $2,000, $1,500 rental deal, no big deal. You got 10 more in the pipeline, right? Doesn't really matter at that point. So that's why I really love rentals too. But yeah, I would lose these deals and I would get upset for days, literally days. I'll be like, oh my God, I lost this $10,000 commission. Oh my God, what do I do? I'm upset. I'm in a bad mood. I'm miserable for days. This was last year. And then I finally realized, I'm like, wait a minute, I can't stop these problems from happening, right? It's out of my control. I can do the best job possible. I can get everything right, but we're working with other people. We're working with tenants. We're working with sometimes buyers agents, sellers agents, whoever we're working with, right? Landlords, sellers, we're working with a lot of other people. So sometimes, title companies, loan companies, we're working with so many people, it's out of your control. So sometimes there will be problems, even if you did everything perfect. So I literally changed my mindset, my mentality around that. Now, when I have a problem, I say, yes, please give me another. Okay. And let me explain that really quick. And this is a mindset change. So if you have a problem, right, because they're unavoidable, you're going to have a lot of problems and issues. So instead of being upset and depressed and sad about them now, I embrace them. I love having a problem or an issue now, because now I get to prove myself to myself. Okay. And that's what it's all about, right? I get to show, why I'm successful, why I'm doing better than the average person. And I get to prove it time and time again. Right. And that makes me feel happy. I feel fulfilled doing that. I just solved a problem. When you solve a problem, imagine going back into math school. I don't know if you like math or whatever it is, but if you're doing a trigonometry equation and then you finally get to the end of the answer, you're happy. You're like, oh, I finally did it. I just made this work, right? It's the exact same thing in real estate or any business, really, honestly. This could be applied to anything, but we're talking about real estate. If you have a problem and you solve that problem, you feel fulfilled and happy, okay? So I literally changed my mindset around that. And now every time I have a problem, all right, I get to solve this problem and then move on to the next problem. And then it equates to wins and successes, right? When you solve a problem, you're going to get a win eventually, right? You might have to solve multiple problems, but eventually you're going to get to that closing table, or that final walkthrough to get that rental commission check, and you're going to get it. And that's going to be a win because you've solved all of those problems. So really, in my mind, real estate in general is just high level problem solving. You're just solving problems for people. People want a house to live in, either rent or buy or sell, whatever it is. And you're just solving that problem for them. And you have to do contracts. You got to do showings, you got to offers, you got to do all that stuff in between. But those are all problems that you just need to solve for them. And once you solve those problems, guess what's waiting at the end of that tunnel, right? It's the commission check. It's that nice fat check that you're going to get. And, for some people, rental is not a fat check. For me, it is, right? Like I said before, to make a $2,000, $1,500 check for a couple hours of work, that's pretty good to me. And I still do them, listen, I don't do many deals anymore. I try to do the bigger deals now. I'll give you an example. And guys, this is awesome too. So you're going to love this. So my biggest deal ever came from a renter. And like I said before, I don't do any marketing, any advertising for any buys or sells whatsoever. I've only done about 30. I think I've done about 30 purchases in my career. The other, 700 of them or 670 of them, those were all rental deals. But they're all coming from my renters. Either they're going to move into a property and rent that property out for a year, 2 years, whatever it is, and then call me up afterwards, because obviously I'm staying in touch with them, which I can talk about later, which is very important, my CRM and database. And then they're going to actually use me to buy a house, because first of all, I was the only agent that would help them out. They might have called 10 agents and each agent hung up the phone, and them. I don't do rentals. I picked up, I got them into a place. So now they're loyal to me and they're going to use me to buy their house, and they're going to refer all their friends and family to me, right? I probably don't even need to generate generate leads anymore. I wouldn't be scaling anymore. You know, I might just stay at the 500,000 mark, which I don't like. So that's why I keep generating leads, because you're never supposed to stop generating leads if you want to scale. That's why I'm probably going to make close to $1 million this year. I got to see, I'm working on a couple big deals, but I might hit, see how 750 a mil this year, which is doubling what I did last year. And that's because I never stop lead generation. I do not stop. Every single day, I lead gen every freaking day. I never stop that, right? So these renters are going to turn into buyers, either after you get them into a rental property, or they can actually start buying during the rental process. And I know that might be confusing. What I mean by that is you can convince them to buy a house instead of rent. I've turned a lot of these renters, because they're like, oh, you know, because, you know, sometimes I got to see proof of funds, you know, proof of income and stuff like that to get them into a rental. And I'm like, wait a minute, you got 50 grand just laying around right now? I'm like, do you know you can buy a house? And they're like, no, I didn't know that. I thought you needed 20% down and this and that. And I'm like, no, you need 3.5% down. That's it. And yes, you get the PMI insurance, and there's some, you know, downfalls about that, but they didn't even know that was a case. So I turned a lot of these renters midway through into buyers, and then they buy a house with me, right? So, but it doesn't even matter, right? You can get the renters, you can get the buyers, you can do a combination of both. It literally doesn't matter. You can make like oodles of money just doing renters, and then you can also get the buyers in them as well. But the real cash, and when I say real cash, I'm talking the multi-millions per year, the $2, $3, $4 million per year. That comes after your renters turn into buyers in 3 years or so. You know, 2-3 years, once the market switches. Because right now, guys, we're in a very changing market. We can call it. I call it a tough market right now, because it's not a buyer's market, not a seller's market, but eventually it's going to turn into a buyer's market. So if you're working with the renters right now, guess what? Once it switches over to a buyer's market, you're going to be flooded with buyers. And that's what I'm positioning myself now to do. My best years are still ahead of me. I have not even come close to my best years yet in real estate. You know what I mean? Because my renters now, I have a list of almost 700 renters, and they're going to buy from me. I'm going to convince each and every one of them that can afford it to buy a house with me once this market crashes. And I don't want to say it's going to crash. I do want to just talk about this for a brief moment, because I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm going to give everybody a little inside tip here. What's going to happen in the market? What I feel like I have a crystal ball right now. We're going to hit a 1981 market again. Okay. We're not going to have a 2008 crash. We're going to have a 1981 situation. What happened in 1981 was the interest rates skyrocketed to like 17% mortgage rates, right? So I think that's what we're going to have happen again, just because we have the high interest rates right now at 8%. We have the low inventory right now. We have the high prices. It's an unsustainable housing market economy right now. It's not sustainable. People can't, this cannot go on. So there's only one thing they can do. They can raise the federal funds rate, which is going to raise the mortgage rate. In turn, obviously, it's going to raise the mortgage rates. And when that happens, everybody's going to stop buying, which is then going to replenish the inventory and drop the prices down. That's literally the only way they can reverse what they did at a 2.7% interest rate. It just made it too affordable and too easy for people to buy homes. That's why we have no inventory now. And that's why the prices got all jacked up. So they're going to have to do that. And my prediction right now, this is a good inside prediction. You guys should write this down. I've been studying the last like 30 years, 40 years of the economy and the housing market. And every single election year, 2000, it's for America, obviously. I think I don't know what's going to happen worldwide, but for America anyways, every election year, the interest rates drop about 3 to 6 months, before the election hits. They want to get the person in power, the president in power. They want to get them reelected again. So they put pressure on the Fed to lower the federal funds rate. This way, the mortgage rates will start to drop, which will create, good favor for the voters to reelect them again. That's why they do it. And I think they're going to do it again. I mean, if history is going to repeat itself, they're probably going to do it again, right? So around maybe like May, June, July of 2024, they're probably going to start lowering the interest rates again, which is going to create more people to buy homes. It's going to bring the buyers back out again, which is going to increase the purchase price of these homes. Okay. But they're only going to do this for a short amount of time. Once the new president gets elected, that's going to screw the economy up even worse than it is now, by the way. And they know that, but they're going to do it anyways, I think. And then what they're going to do is now we're going to hit the 1981 scenario where they're going to have no choice but to increase these mortgage rates to a crazy high level. I don't know if we're going to hit 17% again, but we might get up there to 12%, 10%, 14%, which is then going to cause all the home price prices to go down and the inventory to go up. They're going to have to do that for about 1 to 3 years, you know, depending on how fast it rebounds. I don't really know timeframes on there. I just know it's going to happen. So guess what? It's going to become a buyer's market. So and a lot of people won't want to buy because the interest rates are so high. So then they're going to start buying again once they drop the interest rates again. But if you can convince all of your renters or whoever you're working with that, hey guys, now is actually a really good time to buy because the prices are so outrageously low compared to what they were in June of 2022 at the peak. If you can convince them that and then just refinance a little bit later once the mortgage rates drop, they're going to get the best of both worlds. Yes, they're going to have to eat the interest rate, the high interest rates for a year, 2 years, however long it takes for them to drop again, but who cares? Doesn't matter. It's a 30-year fixed mortgage, you know, or whatever they're gonna do for their mortgage. They're gonna win in the long run, okay? And it's your guys' job as real estate agents to convince them to do this, especially if you're working with the renters right now. It's what they've been waiting for. They've been literally waiting for this opportunity. So yeah, guys, when I say my best years in real estate are still ahead of me, that's what I'm referring to, right? Because now I'm gonna convince all of my 700 renters to do exactly what I just told you. And guess what? These commissions, you know, it's a lot more, right? I might be making 10, 15 grand on average for commission compared to my 2,000, but also I'm still going to work with the renters. I'm doing both. I'm not going to stop that. I got a good thing going there. So what do? I have my renters agents, I got my buyers agents. And then guess what, right? Then I can get listing agents because eventually all of my buyers, they're going to sell. They're going to want to sell. Eventually, what's I think an average is like 7 years people stay in their home for. So in 7 years on average, all of these buyers, maybe I do 100, 200, you know, purchases per year. Now, all of these buyers, these 200 buyers I do per year, in 7 years, they're going to sell with me. So I just keep in contact with them for these 7 years. I mean, who knows? They might sell in between, but then I'm going to have another massive spike again once all my buyers turn into sellers. So this whole plan that I have, it's not just a short, fast, you know, make $500,000 here on rentals this year, and then, you know, make a little bit of money on buyers in 2 or 3 years. Well, guess what? It's like a 10-year plan as well, because then it's going to explode again once my buyers turn into sellers. So this is a whole career plan right here that I've created and literally developed from the ground up. So that's what I just want to say really quick, right? I literally just created this entire program from scratch. I've done about 50 one-on-one and like little group training calls with agents across the country and actually in some other countries as well. I think I've done Canada and Mexico already. And I've taught them this whole entire strategy, this whole philosophy, how to actually do this step by step. So I literally just made a program out of this. Like it's a 4.5, 5-hour program. It's in order, step by step. It's A to Z. I'm very logical, analytical, right? So I literally do it in such an organized fashion where it's just you do this, do that, do this, do this, do this. You know, it's in order. So it's anybody can do it. Anybody can learn it very, very fast and easy. It's richwithrentals.com. Write this down. Log on to the website right now. I just created it. Richwithrentals.com. RICH with WITH rentals RENTALS.com. That's it. Learn all the info there. But guys, trust me, and I'm going to be jacking these prices up right now. This is just I just literally launched it like basically today. I'm about to start going like live on it today. So this is kind of like the pre-sale right now. I am going to skyrocket these prices. I'm actually offering every single week, I will do a group call on Zoom where you can literally come and ask me any questions you want. You get that for 3 months. You literally get me for an hour every single week for 3 months. That's 12 calls that you get with me, which is very valuable. Okay. So that also is included with that right there. That's probably going to go away. I'm probably going to stop doing that. So whoever's grandfathered in right now gets grandfathered in. And that's just that, you know what I mean? Because I'm probably not going to do that for much longer. So yeah, everybody, richwithrentals.com, pop on there right now. Also, go to my YouTube channel because I give away a lot of information. I make a lot of amazing videos. It's just Andy Coleman on YouTube. That's it. You go and type in Andy Coleman on YouTube, I'm going to pop right up, right? Instagram is at the Andy Coleman. I'll pop right up. You type that in. So follow me there. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, richwithrentals.com. Go and check out my program. It will literally change your entire life, just like it changed mine.
Oh, fantastic, Andy. No, great. You know what? There's so much insight that you've given in there, and it's so relevant when we start putting it into perspective with South Africa. We're going into elections next year, and there's already talks that in 2024, we're going to see our interest rates starting to come down. And that is something that's obvious. And what's going to happen? Well, we know that our local government wants those interest rates to get down to get those particular votes. Also, going through your journey of hard work, moving into a team, taking it into the actual future, which is your give back, giving and helping agents, is absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you for that. Now, we've got a couple of questions that came in from agents on the actual calls itself. And I want to just ask it. This one actually came from Brian. And Brian was making reference to your rentals. And in South Africa, we have two types of rentals that we can do. We have what we refer to as a procurement rental, which is a placement. Rent the people in the place, get the commission, and away you go. We also have what we call a management rental, which is, and it's not currently with eXp in South Africa because we've got some legal sides that we're going to have to unravel, but that's where you place them, but then you're managing it on a month to month. So the first part of that question is, are your rentals just a once-off placement, or do you manage them on a month to month basis?
Okay, yeah, because I suppose this is a different country. So there's gonna be different things going on. I'm gonna ask you some questions too about this in a second. So let me just explain how it works here in America, right? Because it's gonna be different than South Africa, of course. So basically, we have two different strategies as well, or two different types of rentals as well. We have the apartment locators, which is basically big conglomerates, big corporations that buy up these or build these 1,000, 2,500 unit buildings, right? And then they get people in there as tenants, right? But it's only one owner that owns everything. We call that like apartment complexes. That's run by a leasing office. Do you guys have something like that?
Yeah, we do. We do have a lot of our larger developers. They'll actually build a complex with probably not as many units. There might be 200-300 units inside. They might sell off a portion of it, and then they will rent and manage that portion of that. So we do have that.
Very similar then. So you have a very similar. So I personally call that the apartment locator strat. Like that's what I teach is how to work with that system, right? Because you have to work within their guidelines, of course. Now, question: do you get paid a commission for bringing in a tenant, to rent one of those out?
Correct. So you get a once-off commission, which normally equates to a 1 month rental.
You get you get a whole month's rent from that?
Yep. So if they rent it out for a 12-month period, the commission is worked out to roughly 8%, which will and I can see you wiping your eyes, and I can see you wanting to come to South Africa because we
don't
have
get that much.
Benefits.
Yeah, we don't get that much. We only get half a month's rent. We get half of that. So yeah. If you can get that in South Africa, you would be insane not to do exactly what I'm telling you to do right now. Because you could probably make what's your average rental price per month though?
So rental prices, we got the lower end. Look, whatever I'm going to share with you, it's in South African rand. So you've got to divide it by 20 in essence. It's an easier calculation. So if we look at low income rentals, we're looking at probably around about 5,000 rand a month. So 5,000, you're looking at $500 a month. And then we can go up to your normal rentals between 15 and 20,000. So you're looking up to about $1,000, $750 to $1,000 per month.
Okay, so that's the commission you would make then is about, what would you say, about $1,000 per month or so? That's the commission you guys would make?
If you're working on that next level, absolutely. Roughly that.
Yeah. That's good. And because it's different too. Because remember, like for me in America over here, like my $1,000 is gonna go differently. Like my cost of eggs is like $8 a carton. You know what I mean? And what you guys probably pay $2 for a carton of eggs. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. Like your money is gonna be a lot easier to use. I don't even know what the word is for that, but I think you know what I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
our money goes further.
Your money goes further, right? So your $1,000 might be like my $2,000. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it actually sounds like. So yeah, you guys can basically make the exact same amount of money that I'm making here in South Florida, and you could do it in South Africa. And guess what? I'm sure nobody is doing this, you know what I mean? Because nobody was doing it here in America. Nobody was doing it in Canada. Nobody was doing it in Mexico. So nobody's doing it anywhere. So you'd be the early adopters. You'd be the first ones in. You'd build your name for yourself, and you could take over that entire industry, right? You could take over these little segments because you could do a pretty large. I teach everything about what areas to do, how to post them, how to get the leads, how to talk to the leads, how to convert them to clients of yours, how to do the deals, the showings, everything in between, how to write the offers. I do all of it, literally teach everything from literally start to finish, right? So you could do the exact same thing as me. So that's number one, right? It's the apartment locator, which you guys have, which is the exact same thing that we have here. So then your second one, I know you had a second one. Now explain your second one really quick.
So a management rental is where you'd place a tenant, but then you'd actually manage it. So they could phone you 2 months in and say, hey, Andy, you know what? The light's not working, or my lock is broken, and you'd have to come out there. So on a monthly basis, you'd actually take care of it on behalf of the landlord. So
Right.
the first one, you're handing the actual tenant to the landlord. They take care of it. The
Easy.
second one, we actually would then manage that, which is something that is coming into the future for you, the agents that are on this call from South Africa.
For a small commission, of course.
For a small commission, absolutely.
That's what I was going to ask. That was my question. Actually. So do you get, so in America, we call that a property management company, right? And a property management company runs that, we could do that too. But we get paid about anywhere from 8 to 13% of the monthly rent. Is that, what do you get paid for that?
So I was advised by Bianca, who runs a New Hope rental management book, that we should ask for 10%, but not drop below 8%, because then it's just not worth it for us.
Exactly. So you basically 10%. So it's basically the exact same thing as over here. So yeah, that would be amazing, because then, and you also get the commission for placing them in the rental, correct?
And we do everything. We even pay their levies, make sure everything gets paid, do the credit. Obviously, we do everything. That the client and the landlord has to do absolutely nothing. And then obviously there's an agent to split with the rental management company, because there's just not enough time. If you're one person, for instance, and you've got all these rentals that you're trying to juggle, it helps to have a management team that does it for you.
That would help you with that, which is perfect.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, listen, that's
so she does a 75-25 split.
Yeah, that's literally incredible. You can make a fortune on that. You could probably make more money doing that than the other one. I mean, listen, both of them you can make a lot of money, but it's like, which one's going to make more? But I mean, probably would make more on that, because you're getting then 10% every single month, and you don't even have to do it. You can just hire somebody to do it for you, give them a certain percentage, and keep the rest.
It's done. For a whole year, you've got that money coming in.
I know, and then you're passive income. And then the beauty of that too, which is incredible, you're staying in contact with that tenant, like literally all the freaking time. Like you're talking to them on the phone, texting them and stuff. So 100% of the time they're going to use you. Well, I won't say 100%, maybe like 99% of the time they're going to use you for whatever they do next, because like you're really in contact with them. So you built a real good relationship with them at that point. It's not just doing a 3-month phone call or like a weekly email. Like you're really in contact. So then you get the benefit of always working with them. They're going to refer you to all of their friends and family, because they're going to love you, because you're going to do a good job. So yeah, that's like a massive moneymaker right there. So that's a really good one.
When they're ready to buy something because they're done paying someone else's bond, then they'll remember your face, because you were the one that helped them with their rental.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So I listen, I love that strategy. I mean, I love both strategies. And there's a third one too for America that all right, there's a third one in America. And now just I'm gonna ask you guys this. So I call it my MLS strategy. Do you guys have an MLS in South Africa?
So no. So what we don't have the MLS. What we do have is we've got in certain suburbs, they will have an MLS. So there are multiple small ones, but there might be only 30, 40 agencies that are on that particular MLS in a suburb. But then there could be another suburb where there is no MLS at all. So and then, it's not universal.
What I'm trying to think here, because like in America here, we have, we call it privately owned, like it's not corporations that do it. So it's different than the apartments. So it's like, let's say a single family home, right? Where it's just one home on a plot of land. And then you have like an owner, a landlord, a seller, whatever you want to call them. They own that property and then they want to rent it out. That's my MLS strategy, because they work with an agent, a real estate agent, and they put that up on our MLS, and then we get half a month's rent commission for bringing the tenant to them. Do you have anything like that as well?
Not in the rental space. So not in the actual rental space. We have that in the sales space, but it's very, very limited. And the beauty about it in South Africa is we can earn full comp. So we can earn both sides of the transaction.
Yes, yeah, same here, which is good. But so let's just say, you owned a single family house, right? And you wanted to rent it out. How would you go about doing that?
So A lot of times they will start by putting it onto the portals. So they'll actually want to do it almost like a rental by owner. And that's where you'll start to pick up those particular databases, is when you see an owner renting it for themselves, but they don't have the database of buyers or tenants, and you would then step into the actual place to take over that.
Oh, as a real estate agent, so you would get to come in and then work with that landlord at that point, and then they would pay you. How much would they pay you to do that?
So no, well, that's it. If you place somebody, you get your 8%, which actually works out to be about a month's commission. So whatever that month rental is, it works out. So if you can pick those up, absolutely, the opportunities are there.
Wow, so that is essentially like my MLS strategy. So you do have something. It's not exact what I do, but it's very similar, and those are for the single family home. So like you could literally do. I mean, that's more than I get too. I only get half month's rent, so you get the full month rent, which is freaking incredible. And then wait, I'm just curious too. Then if you get both, because you would bring in the tenant. Oh, that's why you get both sides, because you bring in the tenant plus. Yeah, it's the same thing here, right? If I bring in, if I represent the seller or landlord, whatever it is, and I get the tenants, then I get both sides. I get the full month. But if I only do half of it, then I get half. But you're saying your system, you basically just have to work with both sides, which is fine, honestly, because truly, it's like the same amount of work. It's like the same amount of work, realistically. So, but now that's good. That's good. So that means that you guys have a almost replica system of what we have here in America, and that's literally exactly what what I've been talking about this entire time, and it's exactly what I teach. So it can absolutely 1,000% be applied to what you guys do. So it just might, like, the verbiage might be changed. Like, instead of like MLS strategy, it's like portal strategy. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, the verbiage might change, but it's the exact same steps and same principles and theories behind it.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Well, Andy, I want to thank you for your time. This hour has absolutely sped past, and I know that there has been so much value out of this particular session. It's absolutely amazing. And I want to thank you for your time, because I know how busy you are, and to actually be able to invest in the agents here in South Africa is truly an honor and a privilege. So on behalf of all the agents here in South Africa, I want to thank you again for your time. And I know that we're definitely going to be communicating again in the future. We're going to have a number of our agents that will reach out to you through the actual websites. Guys, remember, we have a lot of formats. We have a lot of platforms to interconnect and to communicate. That is how we start building our business. We learn from others. This is not a journey that you're running on your own. This is a path where you have high producing agents. And Andy, again, such an honor and a privilege to have you on this call. 4 years in the industry, what he's achieved, and become a 3 times icon agent. We've got the status about to really rip into South Africa, and we're looking at our first icon agent. Believe it or not, Andy, we don't have an icon agent yet in South Africa. Oh. But we've got one that is definitely hot on the heels of becoming our first icon agent. And that is going to be an amazing announcement, because that'll be history in South Africa coming up. So guys, definitely look out for it. From a leadership and a management team from here in South Africa, we are definitely looking at that one at a high level.
I'll tell you this too. So you guys, if you replicate exactly what this is how I icon, right? Everything I just told you and everything in my program is exactly how I icon. It only took me about 2.5 months last year to icon. That's it. 2.5 months I iconed, right? So you can literally, if what you're saying about the rentals and the commission is accurate, then you would icon if you followed my step-by-step. You wouldn't just have one icon in South Africa. Every single one of you can literally icon. Every single one of you, if you did exactly what I did, just replicate it in South Africa, all of you can icon, and it would be quite simple. It wouldn't be that hard, because if, let's say, on average, you're making $1,000 commission and you got to hit that $100,000, that's only 100 deals. That's it. You only have to do 100 deals. Plus, you're going to get purchases on top of that, right? So, like I said before, I get purchases on top of that, right? So you might get maybe 5 to 10 purchases on top of that 100 deals. Then you don't even have to do 100 deals. You could do 60 deals, right? 60 rentals, 60K, and the other 40K can come from the purchases that you're going to get from working with the renters. All of you can icon doing this system, all of you. And then you could have multiple icons in South Africa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're working with. Our original status has come down. So this is actually coming to it. Mercy, I did see that your hand went up. Do you have a question?
Oh, yes. I've been eager to ask Andy.
Go for it.
about your team. How did you actually start your team? Because where I was with the previous agency, I had 15 under my team when I left that agency. So I just wanted to know, how can I as well, bring that team into EXP under my
Yeah.
leadership
It's
without,
quite easy.
should I register them, or they might be just like consultant, because some of them, they are not in
No.
a position to pay their cloud fees.
Ooh. Okay, so yeah, $85 a month, right? And I'm guessing it works very similar where you guys are. Is it 85 a month?
Well, ours is $900, 900 Rand.
Oh, but it's
Not,
times 10. Okay, so but it's the same. Like that's $90 for me, right? So yeah, so that's okay. So yeah, I mean, listen, if you sign them up under you, then you're technically their sponsor, and then they can also join your team. So that's what I did, right? I sign up agents under me. I get the 3.5%, right, of every deal they do automatically. EXP pays 3.5% for every deal they do. And EXP pays it. It doesn't come out of the agent. It comes from EXP. Then what happens is you can bring them on your team. So that's technically called sponsoring them. You're sponsoring them. You don't have to really do anything. They just type your name in the form when they sign up for EXP. So then you're sponsoring them. You get the 3.5%, okay, automatically, and then you actually create a team. I just called mine the Andy Coleman team. I didn't get creative on it. So I just did the Andy Coleman team, and then they sign up under my team, which again, all I do is send a quick email over to like corporate, whatever the team specialist is in EXP, and then they literally just add them to my team. There's like self-organized teams, there's standard teams, there's like mega icon team. There's a whole bunch, but you could just do a simple like standard team or like a self-organized team, like really simple, really easy. And all you got to do is tell them, okay, this person joined my team. I have a contract that I make my team members sign before they do it. You don't have to though. You don't have to. But that's what I do, and then I just send the names over. I send the contract over, and again, you don't even need a contract. They don't require it. They just encourage it, and then that's them on your team. Plus, you're sponsoring them. So if you had 15 agents that was with, let's just say Remax or whatever, right? A dying real estate firm, because you guys know Compass is they're gonna be gone pretty soon. It's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. Rumors have it. A lot of agencies are going to be no more. So EXP is like thriving right now because we're like the metaverse. We're all digital. EXP world. We're in the cloud. We're doing things in the technological era. So yes, bring over all 15 of your members. Now listen, the whole can't pay the cloud fee. I mean, listen. For us in America, $90 is not that much, because what you're going to do is, or $90, 900 for you guys wouldn't be that much, because you can actually then teach them how to do this entire rental strategy. And 1,000 would be what, 10,000 in your guys's. Yeah, 1,000 American would be 10,000 for you guys. So if they just did one rental deal and made that $1,000 American or $10,000 African American equivalency, they would actually cover a whole year's worth of their cloud fees just from one deal. So I would probably go about it that whole strategy, right? Like learn from me how to do the rentals and everything, then teach them how to do it. And then one deal, they can literally cover everything for the entire year. I mean, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. And Mercy, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us, because we can assist you and guide you through this particular process of bringing in the team and having those particular discussions. And cloud fee, if you look at what the cloud fee offers you, the value, and obviously running your team, it becomes a no-brainer with everything that gets incorporated into that. So definitely reach out, and I can actually have a conversation with you to help you on that process.
Yes, I will really, really appreciate Stuart, because they really want to come over, and yeah, they just want to leave that other agent just because I'm not there anymore. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, what you do is just send me a WhatsApp, reach out to me, and I will set up a one-on-one, have that discussion with you directly, and I can help you through that particular process.
That's a good point, Stuart, about so yeah, because I know you guys are in South Africa, so like calling me would be tough, but like if you ever need a discovery call for my program and stuff like that, you could always reach out to me on WhatsApp. I'm on WhatsApp, and I'm on eXp Workplace too. So Stuart was saying lots of avenues of communication. You just go into Workplace, and I believe all of us are there. Just Andy Coleman in Workplace, you'll see me pop up, or Instagram, at the Andy Coleman. That's like universal, where you can talk to anybody over the whole world.
Absolutely. And that's what is so amazing about the eXp platform is we are one. That I think is one of the slogans that fills right into my heart is we are one. We're all one. Doesn't matter where we're on the country, where we're on the world, we are actually one. And we've got all these technology tools that allow us to communicate and be able to get all this advice, get all the support on an ongoing basis. Andy, I want to cut it on there and say thank you again so much. It's been a total honor and a privilege for having you on this particular call. And I really do look forward to having another session with you, digging in and having some questions. I will actually get a lot of the agents giving questions through to me, and maybe we can do a little Q&A session directly with the agents, and they can start to hammer you and pull you out of that comfort zone and get you outside of that box, but give all those little tidbits and nuggets to help them in their business going forward.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. Just, we'll talk afterwards. Just, tell me when and where, and we'll make that happen. Guys, thank you so much, for joining today and, supporting Store and supporting us. eXp is a fast growing company. I mean, I think it's the best brokerage on planet Earth by far. I have been recruited by every single brokerage imaginable, and every single day I get like 10, 20 emails, and I'm never going to leave. I love this brokerage so much. So thank you guys again for having me. Follow me on YouTube. It's Andy Coleman. Follow me on Instagram. It's the Andy Coleman. Reach out to me on WhatsApp. Reach out to me through Facebook Workplace. And if you guys want to email me, it's andy.coleman1186@gmail.com. So guys, again, thank you so much for having me. And that's it. That's all I got for you.
Fantastic. Guys, always my final words. The future of your real estate starts right now. Have it a great week ahead. I look forward to chatting to you again. Cheers for now.